Hello and welcome to a Scooty Wraps tutorial video. In this tutorial video, I'll be showing you how to wrap the Segway Ninebot Max G30 electric scooter. The process will be exactly the same if you have a Segway Ninebot Max G30LP, the slightly smaller, lighter gray version of this one. So I start the wrap off by starting with the neck piece of the scooter, but you may want to start with a smaller piece and skip ahead to do that. You start the wrap by peeling off the vinyl from the backing once you've removed the transfer tape layer on the top. You see me removing this vinyl from the backing, being very cautious not to rip where the holes were and the cuts were for the brake line. I start by lining up this neck piece with the two holes that are cut for the brake line. I'm lining up the bottom hole with the brake line hole, and then I'll go for the top hole brake line. And I'll say this several times throughout the video, but don't be so worried about the lining up of the initial placement of the piece. The vinyl is very forgiving. You can lightly press the vinyl down against a piece of the scooter to lightly hold the position while you check your alignment. So here you see me checking the top alignment to the bottom alignment, making sure the piece is leveled with the scooter at the top and at the bottom. Once I like my alignment, now you see me pressing more firmly with my thumb, so now that placement will stick. Now that I have that piece lined up, I'm going to slowly work my way around the scooter. Again, I have the placement right, so I'm sliding my thumb up and down, locking that piece into place, and then I'm going to start working my way around slowly, one direction at a time. But you want to maintain, you don't want to wrap all the way around at the top before you wrap all the way around at the bottom. You want to wrap evenly, pushing the air out along as you go. So here you see me going from top to bottom again, using that thumb to push air outwards. I am currently sealing the behind of the scooter first, so the neck portion that faces the rider. I'm working with my thumb and just sliding from top to bottom along. Here you can start to see where I've been and where I haven't been. For this piece, I unlock the scooter to maneuver around the lock. This copper metallic vinyl was a new vinyl I hadn't worked with before. It is still a 3M product, but it's a little thinner. It was actually a little harder to apply than a regular Scooty Wrap, but still pretty easy. If you've ordered a Scooty Wrap, you've probably ordered a gloss or matte pattern, and that will be a thicker because it has the top over laminate on top. If you've ordered reflective, that's even easier to apply as it's the thickest material. You see I have some creases forming at the bottom, and it's because I started working around the scooter unevenly. I got ahead of myself. I started sealing too much around one side and not the other. This application was actually a little rough, but even with the rough application, the vinyl's so forgiving that it's going to work out. If you're just patient and do what I'm doing with your thumbs here, and just keep working that air out from top to bottom, slowly and all the way around this scooter, even if you kind of put on the neck piece. I think I put it on a little bit of an angle here, and that's why I'm having these creases, if I remember correctly. But even then, all the creases work themselves out. Just some pressure with your thumb, like so. I like to start with the neck because it changes the look of the scooter the fastest, but again, you may want to start with an easier piece and come back to this tutorial section. But all pieces apply the same, it's just putting on a lot of stickers. Nothing to be scared of. This piece of the scooter I call the Knuckle. The Knuckle piece I just align. I start by aligning the left side all the way with the left edge. Using the screw holes. You also want to check the top and the bottom to make sure you're not going at an angle. You want to be perfectly parallel with the lines that you're placing this piece in between. And it looks like I got the alignment correct right away, so you see me firmly pressing down because I like the alignment. Everything is in the right place. So I'm going to do just like I did in the necks and slowly work my way around, sealing the piece down, pushing out the air. This piece I call the front cap. This would be another good piece to start with if it's your first time. This piece, again, using the top and the bottom, I'm aligning with those two gaps to make sure the piece is parallel. If it's not parallel, you won't get the correct alignment. You'll be going down at an angle. So this takes me, you can tell I didn't like that placement, I just picked it back up. And I'm trying again. To center this piece, it's sort of a guessing game. I'm using that weld you see. You use that weld that I just put my finger up against. Oh, I went a little too far. I didn't like my placement, so I'm going to retry. And now I'm putting the piece on that side closer to the weld so I have more space on the other. Now I have space and you can see the weld over there. I like the placement, and I'm going to firmly start pressing down one side of this at a time, working the air out. And done. Alright, next we have the front fender front piece. A lot of you probably have come to this tutorial video specifically for the fender pieces. The fender pieces are known to be a little trickier to apply for Scooty Wrap customers. The fender pieces are trickier to apply for several reasons. The first being that they go around a curved surface. They're the only piece on this whole scooter wrap that is going around a curved surface. Normally going around a curved surface would require using a heat gun, as well as some cutting techniques and some stretching of the vinyl, but instead we have used these Y cuts. The Y cuts allow you to first place down the center like we did, and then with the Y cuts start using each one and working with them one at a time like you see me doing there and then there. So you place down the center and then you place 1 foot at a time down. Foot as in being one of these flaps. Next we have the rear fender, and we're going to do the same thing with the front rear, and we're going to place down the center of the piece before worrying about any of the pieces that are cut. We're going to get our alignment correct, checking to see if it is centered. Looks like I like the placements. Yep, so I'm going to start firmly pressing down only in the center right now. And then once I've worked my way from the top to the bottom and got it all sealed, I'm going to start working around with each flap individually. These fender pieces, due to the Y cuts, are more difficult to remove from the packaging. They come with the transfer tape on top like all the pieces do in the wrap. So just be more cautious when removing these pieces from the transfer tape. I know it is a little trickier and requires more time and patience. You may find that you will accidentally rip one if you are in a hurry. It's no big deal if you end up ripping a piece. The piece doesn't lose its adhesiveness. It'll still apply to the scooter. You just might see where the piece was slightly ripped. And that is okay if you have a small rip or crease in this wrap overall. You may see it when you're looking at it up close, but I promise you from any distance away, nobody will ever see it. You'll be the only one who knows about it. Not even I always get these fenders perfect because of the curved features, and I myself am not a vinyl installer pro, and neither can you expect yourselves to be. But again, the piece will still overall look good if you just start with the center and then work with the cutouts individually like you see me doing here. I started on the right side and now you see me going to the left side, going from the top to the bottom with these flaps. This I call the fork, and it is also a very easy piece to apply. You just start by aligning it with the gap for the reflector and the gap for those two holes. Once you like the placement, start more firmly applying. So I didn't like that, I just picked it back up because I think the top two holes weren't quite aligned. And then I start by firmly pressing along from the center and work my way out. Okay, next we have this rim piece. This rim piece, I find it's very helpful if you have the scooter's wheels able to freely spin. So that's why you see here I have the scooter off of that table. So I have that piece removed from the vinyl backing and transfer tape, and I'm applying it, and I'm just slowly walking it around. Before I applied it though, I cleaned this rim piece. If you don't clean the rim piece very well, and also double check, triple check that you have firmly applied this wrap to this rim after you put it on, and just several more times, just go back through it on your thumb, make sure it's pressed down. You want that thing to seal. If you have a brand new scooter, even clean the rim. I've found that sometimes the new rims can be a little greasy and it makes the vinyl not stick, and I've lost a rim piece to a dirty wheel before. And I don't want that to happen to you. But as long as your rim is clean and you double check that it's applied, that thing is going to stay on there, no issue. If you've found that you've applied this piece before cleaning your scooter very well and the rim is not sticking, I have found if you have a hair dryer or heat gun, you can slowly heat up this vinyl, and even on the part that isn't sticking too well anymore, if you've accidentally gotten it covered with something, using a heat gun or hair dryer, you will still be able to get this rim piece to be able to stay on. So no worries, even if you have made a mistake, there is backup options. This is just the reflector cover. Apply these at your own safety risk. If you would like to, unless you've ordered a reflective Scooty Wrap, this will not reflect. Alright, I call this the angle joint because it's the piece that goes on this angled piece. I start by aligning it again by just using the brake lines, as well as making sure the top and the bottom seem to be centered between those. But again, primarily I am using that brake line to get this piece aligned. And like all the other pieces, I am just lightly pressing down, checking the placement, seeing if I'm happy. If I'm not, I'm picking it up. If I'm not, I'm picking it up. Didn't like it, retried. Looks like I like the placement. I am firmly pressing down, and I'm going to start working my way around this angle piece. Just being sure to evenly push the air out as I go along this piece. You don't want to, for example, wrap the top all the way around before you wrap the bottom all the way around. You want to evenly wrap this piece around and work the air out all the way around as you go. This piece will overlap on itself on the back. These are the Footboard Bottom fronts. They just get aligned with this weld. Another easy piece to start with. And just align with the weld and between the top and the bottom. And then work your way around. Then we have an easy piece. We have the kickstand. The kickstand, you just align using that little hole, and you press down more firmly once you like your placement. Part 2, the kickstand. Just the bottom portion. Center that piece and wrap around on upon itself. Next we have the footboard top. You just simply align this piece by looking at the left and the right. And I like to press the top of it up against the rubber mat. And I bend around. So checking the placement. Once I like the placement, I'm going to again just lightly start tapping. And going from one side to the other. See, I like that placement, so I'm firmly pressing along that line now. So that line holds. Now I got the piece perfectly, it's not going to move from that alignment, and now I'm going to slowly work around from the top down to the bottom around this edge. Pushing the air down as I go. being sure to not get ahead of myself, getting the air all around that crease first. And now I'm going to start working towards the flat portion. Top to bottom, top to bottom. Working out the air. This is the Footboard Bottom. Applies the same as the piece just above. To check the alignment, I actually start with the left side up against that weld. And using the top of the piece, press lightly to hold its position. And then going to align the rest of the piece using the rear reflector area. And I just right now I have lightly pressed at the top of that piece is all. So there's still a lot of air to get out of this piece, but now I like this placement, so I'm starting to press more firmly. Rear rim will apply the same as the front, of course. It helps again if you can get the wheel spinning. But just walk the vinyl around the rim and be sure to clean it. Clean the rim before applying this piece. Or else while you're riding the scooter, the rim will fall off. But if you have that scooter cleaned properly, this will not fall off. This piece I call the top console piece. To align it, I'm using the gap where you see that handlebar where my thumb is. And I am going to use that edge as well as the edge on the top to make sure this piece is parallel with the lines and I'm not going at an angle. It looks like I like my alignment and I'm starting to apply it more firmly. This is another piece that you may accidentally apply at an angle at first, similar to the front cap, that you may need to take off several times to check your placement. But it looks like I got lucky here with the placement first try, so I just started applying it right away. Another easy piece, we have the handbrake, just align using that little screw hole. Once you like your alignment, again, firmly press down to make the piece stick. Throttle to do the alignment, I use obviously the yellow part, but additionally the left and the right. This is an easy piece to accidentally kind of put on at an angle, so you may need to pick it up several times and replace it a few just to make sure this is centered. That crease right there you see me trying to work out, that one right there, you'll want to try to pinch all the air out of there as well. You can see I didn't have it centered, and now it looks like I'm pretty happy with the alignment. Alright, we've switched scooters because I couldn't find the video for the other one, but it's the same piece. This is the G30LP, this is the rear fender rear piece. Applies just the same as the front fender with these Y cuts. Start with the center, work your way around one Y flap at a time. So I have the center applied, and now I'm applying that bottom right Y flap. I'm applying the top left one, and working my way down this left side. A lot of people have probably come to this instructional video specifically for these fender pieces. If that is you, you are not alone. These fender pieces are a little intimidating, and it's because they're curved. It's because of these cuts. Just have patience and you'll get them on there, I promise. This is the rear fender middle piece. Just like all the others, I'm going to start by aligning and lightly pressing all the way up that center, ignoring the Y-cut flaps. Once I have the center firmly down and alignment I like, I'm going to start working one side of this fender piece at a time, working with these flaps. This is the rear fender front piece. Again, we're going to start with the alignment of the center. We're going to ignore all those Y cuts. I accidentally folded a piece of vinyl on itself, and you see me here getting it unstuck. Success. Now I'm working with the Y flaps, one at a time. And again, I think even in mine you're going to be able to see a little crease or a crack. And that is okay. From any distance, nobody other than you will know about it. Overall, it's still gonna look very good. So I wouldn't get too caught up or too angry if you find yourself fighting one little crack that you just can't get out of that fender. I myself don't always apply these perfect, and as you can see, this one isn't quite perfect. But I'm not a vinyl installation pro, and likely you're not a vinyl installation pro. So I wouldn't get too caught up with it from any distance. Once more, it'll look perfect. And that's it. That's the wrap instructional video for the Segway Max G30 and Segway Max G30LP. And I hope you enjoy your newly wrapped scooter.